Stuart is asleep, his left arm and leg dangling over the edge of the bed and his mouth agape. His messy, blonde curls obscure the chocolatey eyes that initially pulled me into his nocturnal, musical world, as he snores softly into the pillow. He even sleeps messily, and I tut loudly as I trip over yet another abandoned shoe. As I reach the window, I turn to face the bed, the windowsill hard against my hip. Isla. I scoop my hair up into my hands and hold it away from my clammy neck, and suddenly, with a choking certainty, I know that you need me, even more than you did on that night when we were teenagers. I have to find you. I close my eyes, willing you to send me a signal, for our thoughts to meld as they did when we were children. Just hold on, Isla. I'm coming. Chapter 1. Cassie Hunter pushed her front door open, careful to avoid the stray shoes that she knew her boyfriend Stuart would inevitably have left just inside the entrance. Her high-ceilinged, top-floor loft in a block of converted 19th century sailors' homes overlooking Edinburgh's Leith Harbour had been taken over by Stuart's presence, and by his mess. It had been a gradual but pervasive invasion of her space over the past 3 months since he'd moved in, something she'd thought long and hard about before agreeing to. Her personal space was her sanctuary, and trusting him enough to share it with him was not something she'd taken lightly, considering her past experiences. 6 years earlier, Cassie had had her heart broken by her first love, and had struggled for months to regain her shattered confidence and begin to believe that she could rebuild her life. The experience had left her wary of fully trusting people and determined never to allow herself to be so vulnerable again. After almost a year of throwing herself into work and focusing on healing, she had taken a leap of faith and moved her growing jewellery business to trendy Leith, Edinburgh's former port district. She had set up a studio in a converted tobacco warehouse on Commercial Street, blowing her life savings and taking a hefty mortgage on the loft on nearby shore. She had met Stuart almost a year ago at a concert, and their relationship had moved fast. Much faster than would have made Cassie comfortable in the past. His folk trio was going from strength to strength, booking many of the best venues in the city. He was a typical creative, with big dreams that drove him, and little time for, or understanding of, the effect that his tumultuous nocturnal lifestyle had on those around him. But he had a lust for life that was contagious, and he was handsome, which didn't hurt. He could make Cassie laugh too, a major factor in what drew her to him. However, Stuart was also a slob. His clothes, shoes, slew of guitars and wads of music were habitually strewn across the floor, dumped on the coffee table, or left in corners, cluttering up the place. Cassie couldn't get used to seeing her orderly home in this unkempt state, and while she was happy that Stuart had moved in, his untidiness was a bugbear that was beginning to cause tension between them. Tonight, after a disturbed night's sleep followed by a long day at the studio, her patience was at a particularly low ebb. She had been working on the final designs for a new bracelet collection, long after the rest of her team had left to enjoy the remains of the weekend. When a launch was approaching, there were few days off to be had for any of them. She had eventually walked home in the pounding rain, watching the Saturday night lights of the buildings surrounding the water of Leith shimmering on the rippling surface to her left, like clusters of floating stars. Now, as Cassie's eyes adjusted to the darkness of the room, the wall of windows at the far side of the living area framed the moody night sky. Sighing, she kicked a rumpled trainer that sat squarely between her and the fridge, where the last of a bottle of buttery Chardonnay was calling her name. A few moments earlier, startled by the screech of a police siren, she twisted her ankle on the cobbled street outside her building, and now...